Hello everyone. In this video we're going to cover the limit, one of the most important functions in calculus and engineering that enables us to get the final result of a function when we're dealing with this special trend. So let's go and learn how to deal with limit function. In order to find the limit, there is a function in MATLAB called actually the limit. Let me call f1. I'm going to create a function in line. Let's go with one of the most famous ones. It's going to be sine of x over x. Forgot the single quotation. You go like that, and then x is going to be a variable. We created actually a f1 function, which is f of x. And if you remember, this is not symbolic, this is an expression. And as you might have guessed, exactly like derivation and integration, if we go past this function to limit and we want to find the result, MATLAB is going to give us an error because it doesn't understand what this f of x is. Therefore, it's necessary for us to create symbolic variable x first. Now, if we repeat the same thing, now this is different. The way that we calculate the limit in MATLAB is through the limit function. And how we do it is first, as you see the suggestion bar comes in, first is expression, then the variable, and last the value we're approaching. So what's the function here? f1 of x. What's the variable? Of course x. And what's the value of x will be when we approach that? Let's go with 0. And the way that we read it is, what's the limit of f of x when x goes to 0? And it's one of the famous limits, and if you remember, the result will be 1, like that. Therefore, this is the format that we calculate the limit. Let me create another one. I want to introduce a new variable as well, so let me clear the screen. I go with sims of x and y, and now I go with f2 function. Will be in line of sine of x plus 1 plus y minus sine of x over y. And what are the variables is going to be x and y. So this is the function f2 inline function that we created, and it has two variables. Now we're going to find the limit. So limit of f2 of x and y, and what is the variable we're interested? It's going to be x when it approaches to 0. Let's see what's the result. I made a mistake. Oh, so f2 function here, I should put it this way. Sorry about that. So if I calculate f2, now I come to value of f2, and if I calculate, it just brings the result as sine of y. I forgot the left parenthesis, sorry about that. But as you see, when we type everything correctly into MATLAB, it is going to be easy to calculate the limit. So let's calculate something fractional. Let's go with h equals in line of, let me calculate it as 4 times x cubed minus x squared plus 2x and minus 1. This is going to be numerator, and the denominator is going to be, let's go with 3x cubed minus 7x squared minus 1 minus 9. Let's go with that. And then what's going to be the variable x? So I calculated the h, and now h of x is symbolic because we have defined the x. Let me see if I can type the h more pretty. Yeah, that's better, much better. Now I want to calculate the limit. So I go with limit h of x when x goes to, let's go with 0. So if I calculate that, the value is going to be 1 over 9. How about when it goes to infinity? I type I and f. as the infinity. So if I do that and calculate it, MATLAB has no problem just finding the biggest coefficients of the numerator divided by biggest coefficient of the denominator is going to be 4/3. As the last example here, let me show you that how we can combine the vectors with limit function in MATLAB. So as we learn, vector serves us as entities that has bigger dimensions. So we can calculate multiple values and variables at the same time. To show you an example, let me create symbols x and a, and then instead of defining a function, I'm going to create a vector which has functions. So the first element is going to be 1/2, so 1 plus a/x, and let's raise that to power x, something very difficult to calculate by hand. So for the next part, I go with exponential -x. This is our new vector. Now I want to, and you know that it has 2 elements in it. Now let's go with limit. Limit of v, this is the vector, and what's the variable? X, when x goes to infinity. So now I'm not dealing with a function, I'm dealing with a vector. And let's see what happens. When I calculate it, the result for the first part is here, and the result for the second part is here. So you see that you can give MATLAB a range of functions and then ask for the limit, and MATLAB has no problem calculating all the values and return the results in the form of vector.